What is up, Wise Take Nation? It's your boy BrewMedic47 here, coming to you live from my sunroom, my deck. Which is why I'm wearing a sweatshirt because we have a nice, crisp, mild fall evening here in mid-state New York. I'm riding solo tonight, as you guys may have noticed. Clint's been working extra hard at his real job, so I'm gonna give him the night off for this event. And we'll just make sure he's extra good for next time. So, anyways, Nation, I am BrewMedic47. For those of you who are not familiar with myself, welcome to the Wise stream for this week's PGA breakdown. We have coming up for this week the Coriolis Puntacana Club and Resort Championship. Because things have to get more complicated after easy names like the Open. I always want to throw in like and spa after resort because I feel like all these places have like resort and spa in their names. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But if you're here checking this out for the first time, make sure you subscribe to all of our YouTube videos. Click that like button, click the notification bell so you know when we are live. We don't just do PGA, we do DFS, all DFS. We have NBA, we have MLB, we have NFL, NASCAR, esports, you name it, we got it. We're here for you guys. And if you like what you see from the streams, check out the site, wisetake.com, and yeah, pick up a day pass, pick up a week pass, or subscribe for a full season. We will get you covered any way that we can. I know we have hockey and NBA wrapping up soon. I know hockey's like 2 games into their final. Let's go Lightning. And I think NBA is almost there. MLB should be starting their playoffs soon, I believe. So, yeah, sports is kind of winding down, which is weird to say in the end of September. Because really, at this point, we should only have baseball and football. But regardless, here we are. It's been a weird year. In a couple weeks, we're only going to have football and golf. So I think we're going to be here for you guys. I know football's once a week. Golf's kind of once a week, but it's a 4-day sweat. So hopefully we'll keep churning out some good stuff for you all to try. Hopefully we'll get some first-time golf trier-outers. And we'll make some money together. It'll be a good time. It'll be fun. Anyways, we'll get into the actual content for this week. I am by myself. For those of you who don't know me, I am primarily a cash game player. I do this because I enjoy it, because I have fun doing this. I have fun watching the games, and I'm not necessarily trying to make $100,000 playing DFS, because I don't think it's likely that's going to happen. But I'm a cash game player, so my write-ups are predominantly geared towards cash games. Shockey is our GPP wizard, our GPP specialist, and he has crushed pretty well this year since the restart. So forgive me for this stream if it seems kind of chalky, if I don't really go super deep into crazy outlandish GPP plays. Like I said, I'm a cash guy, but we wanted to get something out for this event. My article will be up tomorrow on the site. I have not finalized my article, so please, we're going to give you some nice juicy tidbits on the wide stream, but obviously the final picks are going to be behind the paywall. Obviously, I'm on Twitter at BrewMedic47. Shockey's on Twitter at Clint Petrikis. So, yeah, if you have any questions, if you're not a sub and have questions, we'll help you out as best as we can. Obviously, we want our subscribers to be taken care of the most, but we're decent human beings, and we want to show you that and see you as part of the Wise Take Nation. So shoot us a DM. My DMs are open, so hit me up. I'll help you out as best as I can. I'll touch on the U.S. Open last week. What an what an awesome tournament. I enjoyed every second of it. I watched as much of it as I possibly could. Uh, Started out the first day, there was a little bit more scoring than everyone expected, and I feel like the kind of vibe in the Twitter sphere was that this course was kind of a joke and that it wasn't all it was hyped up to be. And then we saw the teeth come out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it played very hard. Uh, I don't think they really mowed the grass. I don't think they put down as much water as they did leading into the event on the course, and it just played so much harder. I know Friday there was some wind as well that really amped it up. But yeah, winged foot is hard. It's really fucking hard. I mean, it just goes to show Bryson DeChambeau was the only player to shoot under par on Sunday, leading up to his win. So good for him for getting the win. I've been on the Bryson boat for a while. I like Bryson as a golfer. I know there's a lot of people that don't, but I like him. I think he's quirky. I think it's refreshing to see someone new and someone with a bit of controversy really get cemented in as a major champion. So I was pretty fired up. Good event. My cash lineup went 5 of 6, thanks to Tyrrell Hatton, who was super chalky and missed the cut. Started out Thursday pretty well, shooting like 2 or 3 under, and then just completely melted down for like the remaining 30 holes that he had. So he was my one missed cut. Still, it was good enough to crush. My cash lineup had Schauffele, Berger, Hatton, English, Usti, and Westwood, all plays from my article. Pretty sure all guys I talked about pretty much in depth on the stream leading up to the U.S. Open. So I don't try to make anything overly confusing for anyone. I think you can still build a pretty good cash lineup based off the stream, regardless if you read my article or not. The one tidbit that worked out well was the Rievi fade, Rievi, whatever. He was decently chalky, like 20% owned, and I wrote him up. I mentioned him on the stream. I said, look, all his numbers are adding up. He looks like he's going to be a really good play. But anytime we have chalky Rievi, whatever, in a field like this, you always have to be a little bit concerned. And I believe I said word for word in my article, I said that he feels like he's going to be the one guy that's like pretty chalky and just completely blows up and misses the cut, because that's just what we see out of him at such a cheap price. And that's exactly what happened. He completely melted down and missed the cut. So I felt good about that. Xander, I loved. 5th place, awesome. Usti, I loved. 3rd place. Westwood was the real difference maker for me. He was like less than 3% owned in cash lineups, and I talked him up quite a bit, and he finished 13th and scored exceptionally well. He played really well. He was actually like tied for 2nd, I think, after the first day. That's just what Westwood does. He just shows up at these events. English, 4th place. Anytime you have the 3rd, 4th, and 5th place finishers in any lineup, you're destined to do well. So Berger, 34th, T34, not great. But yeah, so that was my cash lineup. It did very well. Scored 320 points with a 5 of 6. Actually did pretty good in GPPs too. The GPP hedge that I had it in finished pretty highly, a couple levels above min cash. So that was nice. So yeah, it was a good week. The U.S. Open treats me well for some reason. But we'll get into this week. Coriolis Puntacana Resort and Spa and Club Championship. Super weak field. This event is usually held during the match play, the Dell match play that we have in the end of March. This is an alternate field event because they have those weird alternate events during the WGCs and the majors sometimes. So this typically has a pretty weak field. This field kind of a little better than the usual, which is odd because it got moved to right after a major. It's still a pretty shitty field comparatively. No one within the top 50 in the world are playing this week. I believe our highest, or in my opinion, the best golfer in this field is Henrik Stenson, which really tells you something because he hasn't been doing that great. You know, he hasn't played much, but what we've seen out of him has not been spectacular. Yeah, so I'll get into the course real quick, and then we'll get into some plays. We're gonna keep this stream nice and tight, nice and short tonight, because it's just me by myself, literally talking to myself, which is fine. Let me just mess around with my screens here real quick. I just want to get the YouTube chat up so I can answer any questions or anything. That's my mistake for not having it up before. You can see all my windows and tabs, which is fine. I got nothing to hide from you guys. It's all golf research right now. Michael's low. All right, there it is. Gotta play the ad first. All right. Welcome, one and all, to the Coriolis Golf Club, located in beautiful Puntacana, Dominican Republic. As we start to see and feel the beginning of fall roll through, we can watch our golfers basking in paradise this week. Yes, this course is a resort course with a number of holes tracking along the coastline. It's fucking pretty, everyone. I'll say it. It's fucking pretty. In terms of history on the PGA Tour, this course and event has a pretty short one. Initially a web.com event, now known as the Corn Ferry Tour. This course first saw semi-professional play in 2016, and then in 2018 it got promoted to the PGA Tour as an alternate event during the World Golf Championship match play. It usually awards some FedEx points, a couple-year exemption, and some decent pot money, but this year, with the event being postponed, the tour added quite a bit to sweeten the pot. Aside from regular season FedEx Cup points, I think usually this thing got like 300 points to the winner. Now it's a full 500, as if it were a regular season event. All right, that's all squared away. Okay, I apologize if I sound raspy or sniffle or sneeze or cough. I am getting over a sinus infection, as I do every year when it starts getting chilly. Yep, just like that. So yeah, from 300 FedEx Cup points to 500, the winner of this event also gets a invitation from the Board of Governors at Augusta National. Yes, for the first time ever, the winner of this event will get to compete in the Masters. Pretty cool, and a little surprising that that alone didn't pull in a slightly better field. But anyways, we have a decent amount of course history here to look at, and what I would say is probably on par with the usual level of field strength this event sees. Let's get into the course. Coriolis Golf Club is a long motherfucker on paper. Clocking in at a hair under 7,700 yards, multiple exclamation points, because that's long. This course plays as a par 72 with 4 par 3s and 4 par 5s. It's funny this week as the 5s are super easy and the 3s are actually pretty fucking hard. All 4 of the par 3s here are in the top 50% most difficult holes on this course. The 265-yard goddamn 11th is the hardest hole on this course with a 27% bogey or worse rate. The 239-yard second is second hardest at a 23% bogey or worse, while the 204-yard 9th and 214-yard 17th are the 8th and 9th, respectively. As for the par 5s, we have 2 shorter ones. The 515-yard 7th and the 565-yard 4th hole are the 2 easiest holes on the course and should be reachable in 2 by most in the field. They yield birdie or better over 50% of the time, while the other 2 are fucking long. The 623-yard 12th and the 626-yard 14th are the 3rd and 4th easiest holes on this course, and combined yield a birdie or better around 30% of the time. As for the fours, it's a mixed bag, but 7 of the 10 fall in the 400 to 500 yard range of this course. And of course, all of the harder ones are in the longer 450 to 500 yard range. On the tee box, we have nice, wide open fairways. This is a resort course after all. The trees here are basically ornamental and pretty far off the fairway. The fairways hit rate here is well over tour average, no surprise. And there isn't much rough here to contend with. There are some hazards to worry about, from bunkers and water to some palm trees, other assorted vegetation, bushes, grasses, what have you, and sand dunes, because we're in the Dominican Republic, we're on the beach. So yeah, there's sand dunes if you're really wild off the tee. It's worth noting that the hot, humid air down here typically makes the course play well shorter than its on paper yardage. And as such, driver will be seen frequently off the tee. The greens are on the larger side, and believe it or not, greens in regulation right here is slightly below tour average. I think that's more of a critique on the strength of field that this event usually sees, because these greens are usually pretty soft and receptive. It's the Dominican Republic. It's pretty humid, pretty wet. Uh, you know, so the greens aren't like rock hard. They if you hit the green, chances are your ball's going to stay on the green. So I think that might be more a factor of either the long approach shots in or just the strength of the field overall. They are paspalum, yes, paspalum grass, which we see at a couple other overseas courses and usually play pretty slow. Coupled with their softness, look for someone to get hot with the putter to take this bad boy home this week. Finally, it's worth mentioning that the winning score should be around -20, so get ready for a birdie fest. And as we see with these seaside courses, weather is the main defense. If the wind stays calm, strap in. Otherwise, we could see this course play a little bit harder than usual. It's all gonna depend. Yeah, I mean, the weather doesn't look daunting this week. Some light winds, maybe a thunderstorm or two rolling through. Nothing's overly concerning. I don't see any reason to suspect that we won't see a score somewhere around -20 unless something wild happens. I'm going to try to do that as little as possible, but again, sinus infection. All right, let's get into some plays this week. As you guys can see my screen here, the one without my face on it, this is fantasynational.com, your one-stop shop for all things stats and model building related for PGA DFS. If you like PGA DFS, it's worth your time to pick up a subscription to Fantasy National, because the site gives you everything and anything you could possibly want. I'm surprised there aren't more sites like this for the other DFS sports. Maybe there are, and I just don't know about them. I feel like a lot of people build their own, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me. So let's start off with this 10K range. As we can see, only 4 golfers in the range. Again, this is Fantasy National. This is not a Wise Take product. Please do not DM CK asking for access to this product because he's not in control of that. You are. So at the top here, we have Will Zalatoris down to Sam Burns in the 10K range. So I want to talk about Zalatoris for a second. He is not a PGA Tour professional golfer, and he is the highest priced golfer this week and the odds-on favorite to win this week. Actually, I think he was tied with Corey Connors. I think they were both 14-1 when prices dropped on Monday. That's crazy. He is technically still on the Korn Ferry Tour, and he's playing pretty well on the Korn Ferry Tour. He won an event back in like July and has had a bunch of like top 10 finishes, but it's not like he's burning the field up. It's not like he's setting the world on fire. I think he's going to be incredibly chalky just based off. He had a strong finish last week. I'm not going to lie. Very strong finish last week. Showed up for the U.S. Open, and a lot of that was his irons. Really, really, really good iron play last week. As we can see here, though, putting, not spectacular. Really not great at putting whatsoever, and even on these shorter par fours, it's concerning. Also, sharing your screen here, you guys get a little look behind the looking glass here at my actual model with my percentages. Approach is always going to be high up there. We've said in the past this event can turn into a putting contest, so putting greens and reg, obviously, with it being below tour average for some reason. I think there's a premium on that this week. It's a long course, so driving distance. Even what we saw with Bryson last week, like if you're long, it doesn't really matter. And a lot of that had to do with the width of the fairways and how thick the rough was. No one was hitting fairways last week, so if everyone's going in the rough, you might as well be long and in the rough, basically. Fairways gained or driving accuracy. I want guys who can get through these par threes all right. Here's our par four ranges we talked about. Birdie or better always shows up in a score fest. DK scoring always shows up in a birdie fest. And opportunities gained kind of supplements this strokes gained putting number. Opportunities gained is putts for birdie or better within 15 feet. Guys are going to need to score, and those are scoring opportunities. So definitely something worth taking a look at. But as you can see, Zalatoris grades out pretty well in my model. I think a lot of this was from last week because Corn Ferry doesn't really keep stats. And I'm not going to be on that train this week. I have a moral, a deep moral, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I'm against unproven chalk, like the shiny new toy. That's just not what I'm about whatsoever. So I think he's the shiny new toy. I think a lot of people touted him up last week, and I'm not gonna go there this week. It feels like a trap. He's good. Obviously, he's a great golfer, really good with his irons, but I think at this price, it's just crazy to have him. Like, I'll go Henrik Stenson over Will Zalatoris 9 times out of 10. I think he's gonna be chalky. I don't think he's a good. I just don't think he's a good play. I'm not gonna play him this week. I've just been burned by unproven chalk, shiny new toy in PGA DFS too many times to let this happen to me again. So that's where I'm at. Connors, I think, is a good GPP play. It's always about his putting. His irons are great. Driving accuracy is great. Driving distance is decent. Par fours. It's always about this putting number. And I don't know. Can he get hot with the putter and win the event? Yes. But I'm not going there for this price this week. The cash play for me in this range is going to be Sam Burns. As we can see, he's third in my model. Super good with his irons, good at pounding greens, super long off the tee. Accuracy kind of sucks, but that's why accuracy is weighted less than distance. 10%, 7%. Good on these par fours, good scorer. I'm very much on board with Burns. Last we saw him was at the Safeway where he got a 7th. Before that, he missed the cut of the Northern Trust. Okay, that's fine. The Wyndham, 13th. 3M Open, 32nd. Workday Charity Open, 17th. So he plays well in weak field events. And honestly, there's just golfers on the PGA Tour that do better in shitty fields. It is what it is. So Burns is going to be my cash play in this range. I don't hate Hughes. Any guy who's first in putting really jumps out. He's historically a very good putter. And in an event that can turn into a putting contest, that's going to be tremendously important. Obviously, super good on these par threes. So if he can pound these long ass par threes and make birdie while everyone else is making par, that's just going to do so much better for him. And he's a good scorer, too. Sixth in this field in DK scoring, 11th in birdie or better. So I don't hate Hughes as well for GPPs, but Burns is going to be my cash play in this range. Moving on down here, long interested me a little bit, but at 9,900, I don't know if I can get there. Again, he's won on tour, so he's got a lot more than a lot of other people in this field. But I don't know. His numbers are decent. He's 13th in my model. He grades out well. He's probably a good GPP play. But I don't know if I can get there in cash. For me, in cash, it's two guys in this range. It's McCarthy and Stenson. As we can see here, 18th and 31st. Stenson's honestly, in my opinion, the best golfer in this field. Maybe I'm just a Henrik Mark, but first on approach, good putter, good at hitting these greens. Distance sucks, but fairways gained, super good. The ball's going to travel further. He has an edge over the field with his irons. You could make the argument that he hasn't really done anything this year, and I certainly won't disagree. In his last two starts were majors, and he missed the cut. And then he had a 35th at the WGC St. Jude, missed the cut at the API, and then won the Hero. So not much recent form to look at, not much to inspire confidence, but the iron game is there. We know Stenson. We've seen Stenson play very well in the past, and I think he's the best golfer in this field, and I think this price is too cheap. And then McCarthy, we see super good putter, super good with his irons, super accurate off the tee, middle of the road for driving distance, okay, but he scores birdie or better, DK points, good on these shorter par fours. I think McCarthy is probably going to be my number one cash play in this range, and then Stenson coming in second. Perez gives me a little interest too. We see Perez; he's another guy that we just see do well at easy courses. Unfortunately, some guys on the PGA Tour just can't do it on hard courses or even medium courses. Some guys just ball out on easy courses, and some guys just play the resort courses and take a little vacation and go out and play some golf and keep their tour card, take home a little bit of a check, and they're good to go. As we can see, eighth in my model, grades out higher than my other two plays. Good numbers across the board, good putter, good approach. Driving distance kind of sucks. Fairways gained is middle of the road, but everything else is super solid. Last we saw him at the Safeway, another easy course with a shitty field. You got ninth, 23rd at the 3M, another, kind of shitty field. So, yeah, definitely on board with some Patty P this week. Looking at this range, it actually might be McCarthy 1, Perez 2, Stenson 3 for me. Moving on down to the 8K, not a ton in here that I really like. As you can see, just three more golfers. Starting off, Charlie Hoffman, the Hoff, 14th in my model. Approach good, putting solid, greens good. Really good on these par threes. Good at scoring opportunities. DK scoring, birdie or better. Everything is solid. Last we saw, Charlie Hoffman was a 56 at the Safeway. Nothing spectacular, but made the cut. 13th at the Northern Trust. Apparently, it was not enough for him to move on, though. Is what it is. 7th at the Workday Charity Open, which is another kind of weaker field. So, I don't hate a little Charlie Hoffman here. It's weird too, because looking at these guys, like, and just looking at the overall tournament history, there's really not a lot of these guys have played here that much. We've had 3 years of PGA Tour play here, and I think only what I see what three guys in this entire four guys in this entire field have played here all 3 years, which is kind of odd to me. We have Connors, Schenk, who we'll get to, Garnett, winner a couple years ago, Lashley, winner a couple years ago, Bird, Trahan. Yeah, it's weird. Not a ton of guys have played here all 3 years, so that's just one of those weird course history events. Moving on down, Norlander. As we can see, first overall in my model this week. Anyone who's been following us for a little while knows that I'm a Norlander mark. We've been talking him up on the stream for a while, so I definitely love me some Henrik. All the Henriks this week. Just give me all the Henriks. Super good with his irons. Good putter, good at hitting greens, super accurate off the tee, outstanding on these par fours, especially the long par fours. Talk about just cash game play through and through at his price. Absolutely. Give me all the Norlander this week. Schenk, another guy. Moving on down the list here. Schenk grades out well in the model. It's funny. Having the last name of Shank doesn't necessarily inspire confidence when it comes to PGA. You never want someone who shanks the ball, playing for you in golf. But and I remember, I think it was last year, we had an event where, for whatever reason, my model spit out Adam Schenk as like first overall, and it was like a moderately okay field because I'm pretty sure he was like 7K and he was first in my model, and I was like all in Schenk, and of course he missed the cut. So there's nothing's perfect, but grades out decently well in the model. We talk about this no red numbers, right? All blue and green, no red, like Zhang down here. Just a solid overall game. Nothing spectacular, but nothing terrible. He's made a shit ton of cuts lately too. He's six for his last 6 in made cuts, and that's all we want in PGA cash. We just want guys to make the cut. I don't care if you finish first or 30th, as long as all 6 of you play the weekend. I'm good because I'm most likely going to cash. Last 6 events, he's made every single cut. Nothing spectacular. Best finish was 30th, but good tee to green play, good approach play, just kind of crappy putting. And that's the thing about putting, is anyone can get hot with their putter at any time. So that's the 8K range for me. Obviously, Kyle Stanley here was tempting to me, but I'm not going to bite into that poisoned apple again. Getting into the 7K range, let me just hit my douche flute real quick. Oh, it's dying. Plug it in. Garnett. Won here a couple years ago. 10th in my model. Again, no red numbers, right? Everything's solid across the board. I've also found with these super weak field events is that you to a degree, you kind of just got to trust the model. There's a lot of guys in here that aren't worth following very closely through 90% of the PGA Tour season, especially as we get lower and lower into the range. And I've found a degree of success in the past just by like blindly optimizing my model and just putting, 20 entries in and doing decently well. People are going to naturally, pull themselves towards the names that they know, and names that pop in a model that you probably don't know, but they show up, tend to have a little bit less ownership, and from my experience personally, have done well for me. So take that for what it's worth. Garnett, 10th in my model, solid numbers across the board. Irons are good, putting's good. Everything's pretty solid. Does decently well on easy courses. We haven't seen too much out of him lately. 67th at the Safeway, 26 at the 3M, a couple miscuts in there at like real field events. He actually came in 11th at the Honda. That's interesting. Had his best putting week in a very, very long time. So he's another guy. If his putter heats up, he can smoke a field. Just his iron game alone grades out well enough that he's worth a look. Oh, I apologize. I worked overtime today, and I'm going back in for a 24-hour shift tomorrow, so I'm a little sleepy, but we're almost through this. Vegas, probably one of the better-known names in this field. He's pretty cheap. I like Johnny Vegas. I remember a couple years ago he won like back-to-back events. That was pretty crazy. 4th in my model. I mean, look, approach is okay. Putting is but he pounds greens, super long off the tee, one of the longest in the field. Good on these par threes, and he can score. That's what we want. It's weird looking at like DraftKings scoring as a statistic, but it shows. Like, I'd rather have a guy make 9 birdies and 9 bogeys and finish at even par on the day from a DK scoring perspective than a guy who just makes 18 pars. That's just the way that DK scoring works. You're going to get more points that way. As for Johnny V, I haven't seen too much out of him. I started the restart off decently well. Ran into some trouble, but looks like he got his putting stroke back a little bit at the Safeway 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, I'm on board with some Johnny V this week. Chris Baker, 2nd in my model, 2nd overall. And I don't think I've ever heard of this guy before. I don't think I've ever played this guy before. He's 2nd in my model. Outstanding with his irons in this field. Pounds greens, putting's pretty strong. Not super long, but pretty accurate. As you guys can see, everything else is super good. Does well on easy courses. Missed the cut at the Safeway, 20th at the Wyndham, 41st at the 3M. I mean, if we go all the way back to the Farmers, from the Farmers Open in January, he's missed 1 cut. And that was at the Safeway 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, I'm definitely on board with a little bit of Chris Baker. It looks like he's just a grinder. It looks like he just plays decent golf. And luckily at these events, decent golf is what you need to win. Nesmith, he's one of those new guys on tour. He was a darling of ours, on again, off again. I think he's viable this week. His iron game is strong. His overall game doesn't really reflect much from a statistical perspective, but I think he's a good golfer. And I think he's worth a look for sure. If we get down here a little lower, we have the Roachmeister at 7,300. Normally not a name I'm super high on, but he's another Corn Ferry guy. What am I looking at here? This is weird. So, missed the cut at the Safeway, missed the cut at the 3M, missed the cut at the Rocket Mortgage, but came in 15th at the Corn Ferry Tour Championship, which if I remember correctly, Zalatoris was like 17th. So he actually did better at the Corn Ferry Tour Championship than Zalatoris. Um, he's got a bunch of Corn Ferries Tour starts. Hasn't really done anything tremendous on the PGA Tour. But as we can see, his numbers grade out decently well in this field. He's worth a look. He's not a cash play, but for GPP purposes, very much viable. Chappell used to be a very good player on tour, and then he really fucked his back up. He really, really, really messed his back up and took a very, very, very extended uh, break. Like, let me see, when was he off? Yeah, November 10th, 2018, and he didn't come back until the Greenbrier on the 15th, September 15th of last year. I always liked Chappell. He used to play really well. He just messed his back up, and had to go through all the rehab. Second at the Players a long time ago, third at the WGC Bridgestone, and that was like a major event. Second at the Tour Championship. Like, Chappell used to be an outstanding golfer, and I believe that. I mean, he's just trying to get used to that, like trying to get used to being back on tour. I don't know how I feel about him in cash necessarily, but I think in this field, given his pedigree and his history, I certainly don't mind a flyer on him in GPPs. Then Sam Ryder at 7,200. He's a off-field event. I don't know why I did that. Sorry. He's an off-field event darling of mine. There was like a stretch last year where I played him in like every single event, and he always did super well for me. He's run into some trouble in the last 7 events. He has 6 missed cuts and a 7th place finish at the Workday Charity Open where he just balled out. Again, not much of a cash play. You're not going to find a ton for cash in this type of a field, this cheap, down this low. But I think for GPPs, Ryder's worth a look for sure. Ben Martin and Joseph Bramlett. We'll start off with Ben Martin here, 19th in my model. Approach is okay, putting's okay, greens and reg is super good, driving distance is meh. Everything else is decent across the board. Plays pretty well on easy courses. He's another Corn Ferry guy. He played in the Wyndham, made the cut, top 25 of the Corn Ferry. He came in playing some good Corn Ferry golf. This is usually this time of year on the PGA Tour, not necessarily this event, because this event is usually in March, is where we start seeing all our Corn Ferry Tour graduates, the top 50, I think it is, on the, or, the top 50 on the Corn Ferry Tour start playing in these events. So that's why that comes into play. Bramlett, he's another guy. When he came onto the scene quite a while ago, there was a lot of talk about how he was like the next Tiger. Like, he was very, very, very highly hyped up. This is going all the way back to like 2011, and he sucked. And I think a lot of that was from an injury. Like, he messed himself up real good, and took a whole bunch of time off and grinded back through the Corn Ferry Tour and got himself a tour card. And I mean, more power to him for sure. Um, PGA Tour prowess has not been spectacular. He's missed a bunch of cuts in a row. But again, this is a weak field. He's flashed upside. His numbers check out. I mean, 8th in greens and reg, super long off the tee, good DK score, good birdie or better. I don't hate a little Joey B this week. keep moving down here. We're getting to the end here, everyone. Not a lot left. Swafford, 17th in my model. As we can see, plays well on easy courses. What a surprise. Safeway we saw him 56th. Missed the cut at the 3M. Missed the cut at the Workday. 30th at the Rocket Mortgage. He did well at the Waste Management. Missed the cut at the Corn Ferry Challenge at TPC. But, again, he's another guy. You're not going to find much down here in this type of a field. So numbers check out. This is where we trust the model, right? 26 in approach, good putter, long off the tee, good on par threes, good on these par five or par fours. So, and then we have this guy, Justin Sue. This is more of a narrative gut play for me. As you can see, his numbers, not great. 98 in my model, red and blue, nothing spectacular across the board. Justin Sue was a very highly touted rookie that was part of the core four, as they called them, with Wolf, Hovland, and Morikawa. There was a fourth, and it was Justin Sue. He got to watch all of his collegiate superstars ball out and win events and almost win the U.S. Open last week, and Morikawa just ball out. And he's just kind of been on the sidelines and down in Corn Ferry land. He did have an injury, and he's been doing apparently a shit ton of work in the off season, like sports psychologists and everything, and like hanging out with his college coach to try to get his game back. So, I was high on him coming out of college because he was always like the fourth guy that no one really knew about when Wolf and Morikawa and Hovland were tearing it up. So, I have high hopes for him. I think, this is going to be a great coming out party for him. If he can play decently well, I think we're going to see a lot more of Justin Sue because he was just so highly touted coming into everything. And he's got the game to show it. I mean, his collegiate game was as good as Wolf and Morikawa and Hovland. And we all see how they're doing. So, I think watching them all succeed kind of fucked with him a little bit and made him beat himself up a little bit more than he should have. But I think now he's got to be at the point where it's like, fuck it. Like, I got to do something here. And I'm excited to see him play this week. I hope he does well. I'm rooting for him. I think it's worth a play. Not in cash, but certainly in GPPs. I think he's an interesting play. Again, getting down to it. Last three. Party Marty Laird. 24th in my model, as we can see. The putting is going to be the big question mark. Everything else is solid this week. Party Marty, hasn't really shown us a ton. Missed the cut the Safeway. Hasn't played that much. Made the cut of the Genesis, the Waste Management, and the Farmers. Not a ton there, but if we look at his stats in the model, everything checks out decently well for his price. And in this week of a field, I think that really makes really puts a lot of these guys into play that we'd probably grimace at. That would be like 100 or worse in any other given week, but this is just one of those weeks to get down and dirty in the mud. Sean O'Hare, solid across the board, right? No red numbers. Everything's pretty decent. Nothing's overly good, but just solid across the board. Missed cut the Safeway. Last time we saw him before that was the Honda. Aside from some Corn Ferry events, nothing spectacular. But again, he's popping in the model. Last 24 rounds, decent golf overall. This is really not cash game territory. I mean, if you're playing cash, you really want to stay above the 7K range, most likely. because there's not a lot to love down here. But my last guy for the week, Graham DeLayet, 28th in my model, almost min priced. Good approach, decent putter, greens, driving distance, these par fours. Again, like the rest of these guys, we haven't seen too much out of him lately. Missed the cut at the Safeway, missed the cut at the Sony, and that's it for this year. Not even really any Corn Ferry events, but he pops in the model. He shows up. Sometimes you just gotta trust the computer, because there's a lot of guys in here that it is not worth your time to put any degree of brain space into remembering anything about them aside from this 1 week out of the year. So yeah, that's gonna do it for me, Nation. We'll see how this goes this week. I don't think I've ever actually played DFS for this event, because I usually focus on the match play. Print out your goddamn brackets. And I don't really play too much in the swing season, because normally this is when I'm getting ready for hockey, but this is where the year's at. So we're going to get through this together. We'll see how this goes. My article will be up tomorrow, hopefully around noontime. We'll see how work treats me. And yeah, like I said, if you're not a part of the nation, come check us out. Shoot me a DM. If you need anything, I'm here for you all. I'll help out as best as I can. Make sure you give us a follow, a subscription, like the video, and click the notification bell so you can be made aware of everything going on in the Wise Take Nation. Because we're here for you, and we'd love to have you as a part of the nation. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for my solo show. Hopefully next week, Shockey and I will be reunited. It's been so long. And yeah, let's kill it this week. Let's make some money, and we'll see you guys next week for another kind of crappy off-field event. But hey, it's sports. It's what we got, so we're gonna make the most of it. So, all right, nation, take it easy. Have a good night. Catch you guys next week.